Okay, today we'll be taking a look at the Toolzone 1/4 inch sockets. We've had them for a while, but we haven't got around to doing a proper review of those yet. I have had those in the garage out the way there, but we will take a look at those. I do expect them to be very similar to some of the Nielsen and things like that. In fact, we take a look at that, I think recognising the font again on there to be exactly the same as some of these other brands that we've seen before. So it's probably just the same sockets dished up this time in a satin finish. So we'll take a look at those anyway. I've found them to be okay for what I've used them for. Quite impressed with them actually. I thought they would have been a load of junk, but they've actually been alright. So we'll take a look at those today. We looked at the Bergen ones before in the last video, but you know, I expect them to be just as good, to be honest with you. So we'll take a look at those today. Gordon Ramsay hands. Alright, so these are the Toolzone sockets on the rail that it comes with. It is actually daylight, it's just quite dark down there. You can see the it is daylight outside, but it's just a little bit dark down this part of the wall under the shelf. But, you see them there on the rail. The rail's okay, it's just one of them freebie jobs. You either like them or you don't. They were particularly loose, and the sockets did drop off. But if you get these, if you've got a circlip plier, or failing that, and just a regular needle nose plier, and just pull them out. So you just put them in there and pull that out, and just spread them ever so slightly, and then you'll. It's the same with any rail really. You'll get them to go back on snugly, and you won't have none of that. There you go. You won't have none of that trouble. And that's, you apply that to any rail. You know, just open them back out. Circlip pliers are best, but needle nose pliers will do it. You just have to pull on the handles. And what we'll do is we'll take a small one, a medium-sized one, and or a couple of medium-sized ones. We'll take a 4, we'll take an 8 and a 10 and a 14. So the set itself, I think it goes from it goes from a 4 to a 14, and it does have a 4.5 and a 5.5 as well. So exactly like the Bergen. I wouldn't be surprised if they do come from the same, like we'll talk about in a minute, they come from the same place or not. But we'll see about that. So we'll take these and go and take a look at them out in the light. Okay then, so if you take a look at the Toolzone sockets, I picked up the 4.5, the 8, the actually picked up the 11. I was going to pick up the 10, but I picked up the 11, and the 14. Now the reason why I was going to pick up the 10, obviously I've, you know, just some sockets that I use quite regularly, but it doesn't matter, you get the same. You can still look at the quality of what the socket actually looks like, etc. Now these are a satin finish, and that satin finish is actually a lot like the Bergen 1/4 inch extensions, the satin finish on them. If I just get one of those and put that next to it and well, interlock it, might as well interlock it, and you can see that it's pretty much seamless, the colouring. So we've got one of our Bergen 1/4 inch extensions that we looked at previously. If we take one of our sockets from Toolzone, we just put that on there. We just tweak the macro focus. You can see that the satin finish is pretty much identical to the Bergen on these Toolzone, which might pretty much indicate that perhaps it's come from the same factory, from the same factory in the Far East. Who knows? Again, if we take a look at one of the Bergen sockets that we looked at before in comparison, it's in a slightly different position, but they've both got a little recess at the bottom. They've both got a little recess at the bottom, but the Bergen one is ever so slightly lower down. Keeps bleeding, jumping out. If we take a look at the actual broaching on the female end, you can see there's a telltale little rounding in the corners on both of these sockets, and they've both got the they both look identical on that one end. So again, it is possible that the Bergen and the Toolzone 1/4 inch sockets are could be made in the same place. If we take a look at the one of the Nielsen sockets, we can see the same. We can see the same style again on the female end, with these little rounded corners. Now you see this is a Brittle Expert, or a Stanley Mac Expert, whatever you want to call it, wherever you are. Now you see they don't all have the same design when they make their the broaching on the female end. You see there's no rounded corners on the Expert socket. So again, that's another telltale sign. Now this, obviously, like I said, is the Nielsen one. Also, what you'll notice is the font where it says chrome vanadium or vanadium, depending on where you come from in the world. Before you start jumping down my neck, it's pronounced differently by most people here, apart from those that are influenced by watching tool videos from North America. So you got the chrome vanadium font. Now it's a little bit smaller on this one, so it's a little bit harder to see. It's a little bit bigger on the Toolzone, but it is in fact the same font as that Nielsen socket. Now if we take one of those Nielsen adapters, it's a bit bigger, and you can clearly see that it's exactly the same font that's been stamped on there when it says chrome vanadium or vanadium. If we take the bigger socket, it might be a little bit bigger, and you can clearly see that it's exactly the same stamp, the same font. Again, another Nielsen product, and this is the Sealy Premier. Again, it's a little bit smaller, but to me it's the same font. But the again, you've got that rounding to the corners on the Sealy Premier socket, which again is exactly the same kind of thing as the Nielsen. So they might all have come from the same factory on closer inspection, but that's definitely the same, exactly the same font on the Toolzone as that Nielsen adapter, as you can clearly see. So it's likely these Toolzone ones come all from the same place. You take a look inside the actual socket itself. See, it's chamfered. It is quite a nice satin finish, and they do perform
very well actually. I was quite surprised. They don't seem to be junk. Now I noticed that the Toolzone electrical crimpers that we looked at before are exactly the same ones that Bergen are selling, just in a blue box with Bergen on. So it is possible that a lot of these things come from the same factory after all. But they are fairly decent. Bergen do sockets in satin finish, but they are a little bit harder to find. If you can't find any in satin for around that price point, the Toolzone 1/4 inch might suit your needs. And like I say, they do go well with the satin Bergen 1/4 inch extensions. So that's just a little look at the Toolzone 1/4 inch sockets they're offering. I personally think that they all come from the same factories, and they're all just stamped with different specifications that they're asked for, and different different names obviously on some of the products that are stamped on there, but it all seems to be the same font as well a lot of the time. So yep, they're okay enough. They work. I've used them. I've not broke any on my motorcycle. They seem to work just fine. So that's the Toolzone sockets in 1/4 inch drive.